Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in digital format at Amazon.com, Google Play, Draft-A-Digital, and other digital booksellers, or pick up your paperback copy on May 24th. A Massachusetts man went on a stabbing spree on Memorial Day weekend.
Breaking now at 11, 4 girls, all minors, were stabbed in a Braintree movie theater in an apparent random attack. Thanks for joining us tonight at 11. I'm Christina Rex. This attack may have been one in a string of incidents. I-Team sources say the suspect is believed to be wanted for a murder in Connecticut. That same man is believed to then have traveled to Braintree and Plymouth, allegedly attacking people along the way before his car burst into flames in Sandwich and he was arrested. WBZ's Laura Hafley is live in Braintree. Laura, so police had already been looking for this man?
That's right. Our WBZ I-Team sources did confirm that this suspect is believed to be wanted for murder in Connecticut. You're about to see photos and videos of who our I-Team sources have confirmed is in fact the suspect involved. Connecticut State Police did put out a bolo earlier today describing this person as armed, dangerous, and carrying a knife, a similar weapon to what was used in tonight's attacks here in Braintree.
One call right now, possible stabbing.
Moviegoers in Braintree forced to run for their lives Saturday night after police say a suspect went on a stabbing spree, attacking 4 young girls inside of a movie theater.
There's going to be more than one victim. I believe there's 2 or 3.
This is a lot. Like this is like quite a few stretchers I've seen go in. This is not good.
According to the Braintree Police Department, all 4 victims under the age of 17 were rushed to a nearby hospital with injuries.
The 2 little girls were crying.
AMC employee Nate Lewis was behind the snack counter when the attack began, and he watched as the suspect escaped.
I caught like a quick glimpse of like a guy, like he ran into like theater number 2, and apparently like he stabbed like a couple of little girls there. I noticed like he was wearing an oversized trench coat, sunglasses, like a long blonde wig.
The violence didn't stop there. Police say a short time later, the same suspect was involved in what they're calling a similar assault, but this time in Plymouth. Using surveillance video, a license plate, and a multi-agency effort, police tracked down the attacker's car and began pursuing the vehicle, which ultimately crashed in Sandwich Saturday evening. The suspect with blonde hair pulled out of the car, placed onto a stretcher, and taken into custody.
It's so heartbreaking. I think that was the first thing that I'm going to be thinking about the rest of the night, is seeing those kids coming down the steps and just crying. And they looked really stunned, like they just saw a horror movie, not a kid's movie.
The name of the suspect or the charges have not yet been released. The 4 young girls who were attacked here tonight are expected to be okay. In Braintree, Laura Hafley, WBZ News.
Now, in this alleged incident that took place over Memorial Day weekend, 26-year-old Jared Ravizza allegedly participated in a stabbing spree that possibly led to the death of his friend, who was found dead after the stabbing spree, and led to the stabbings of 6 other people. Now, according to reports, on May 25th, possibly Jared Ravizza allegedly stabbed his roommate and friend, a 25-year-old man, and then allegedly got into his black Porsche on Memorial Day. And as he got into his black Porsche on Memorial Day, it is alleged that Jared Ravizza, who was waiting in a McDonald's drive-thru, made an order and then left his vehicle and went into the restaurant, had an argument with staff at the McDonald's, then pulled a knife and allegedly stabbed 2 of the staff at the McDonald's, then got back into his vehicle, and then as he got into his vehicle, he drove into the parking lot of an AMC movie theater walked into the AMC movie theater without paying, and then went into the theater where If was playing and stabbed four girls who were minors, and then got back into his vehicle and sped off with police in pursuit, and then wound up crashing his Porsche into another vehicle. And this is where police wound up arresting Jared Ravizza for the just series of stabbings that he participated in. Now, the police in Massachusetts see this alleged incident as an isolated one, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior of Jared Ravizza, it definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. Now, according to reports, Jared Ravizza's father said that Jared Ravizza went into a transformation during the COVID lockdowns and wants to speculate that this possibly could have led to him having some mental health issues. Now, when it comes to many people as related to long periods of isolation, this possibly could do some damage to their mental health. And what could have happened to Jared Ravizza could have been that he possibly wound up with his brain, with some sort of mental health issue due to the isolation from the COVID lockdowns. However, when I look at the erratic behavior that Jared Ravizza wound up participating in, it looks more like he possibly had a transformation, possibly due to the use of illegal drugs. Because when it comes to individuals who take illegal drugs, it can basically radically alter a person's brain chemistry, and I believe that's what happened here to this preppy guy who was basically a clean-cut preppy before he wound up in the COVID lockdowns. I believe what happened possibly to Jared Ravizza is that during the COVID lockdowns, he basically was out here hanging out with people, and as he was hanging out with people among these wealthy types, this was his time where he possibly experimented with some drugs like marijuana or K2 or angel dust or PCP. And what happened was, as he took these drugs, possibly what happened here is that Jared Ravizza's whole brain chemistry completely changed. And as his brain chemistry completely changed, what happened is this has basically transformed him and changed him into a completely different individual. Because this is what happens with a lot of individuals who go out here and start taking these kinds of drugs. They have an effect on a person to the point where their whole personality winds up changing because their brain chemistry changes. Now, Jared Ravizza's father thought that this possibly was due to him having some sort of mental health episode due to the isolation of the COVID lockdowns. But when I look at Jared Ravizza's behavior and compare it to another individual who I did a video on, who went to a church to murder a pastor, and it was seen on the video holding up a gun at the pastor, his behavior basically seems very similar to what I'm seeing with Jared Ravizza, in that he basically wound up making a transformation, and possibly making that transformation due to the use of marijuana or drugs like K2, again, drugs that people think are harmless, but do radical changes to somebody's complete brain chemistry over a period of time that basically makes them change into somebody else. Now, people said that after Jared Ravizza was in the COVID lockdowns, he went from being a clean-cut preppy to being somebody who looked more like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, and acting like it because his father basically had to have him arrested as related to a previous incident at the home. And that previous incident basically shows me what really happened here with Jared Ravizza. Basically, this man attacked his father because he basically possibly was taking this drug, and again, possibly this is what led to him looking to attack his father. Now, the father says that his son suffered a mental break, but I believe that that mental break possibly could have been due to drug use, and the drug use basically altering his brain chemistry to the point where he just became paranoid and possibly delusional. So that's what I believe happened here with Jared Ravizza. That really fits into my book, The Man Crisis, where I talk about addiction and the man crisis, because what a lot of beta males, what they do is they go to take drugs to escape their problems, and when they go to take these drugs to escape their problems, what that does is exacerbate their problems, because as they take these drugs as to escape from the world, what it does is it makes it where they can never come back to reality. And they can't come back to reality because they've gone out here and taken these drugs, and these drugs have altered their brain chemistry. And that's possibly what happened here with Jared Ravizza, as he, again, possibly took some sort of drug like marijuana, or some drug like K2, which is synthetic marijuana, which is known for triggering these kinds of episodes. And what possibly happened here over Memorial Day weekend is he possibly did smoke up. I'm speculating here. And what happened was the first victim of this possible incident was his roommate, the 25-year-old guy. And that guy basically was found dead inside of the home that Jared Ravizza was staying in. And then he took his Porsche on Memorial Day weekend and then went to participate in this stabbing spree, which wound up with people at McDonald's getting stabbed, other people at the little girls getting stabbed at the AMC movie theater, where it was reported that Jared Ravizza was possibly smiling and laughing as he was stabbing these girls. And all of this could have been the result of illegal drug use, which is what a lot of, again, beta males take. And because those drugs basically lower a person's inhibitions, these people wind up acting on their impulses. And as they act on their impulses, they go out here and participate in heinous and violent crimes. And that's what makes these drugs dangerous in the hands of beta males. Because, again, a beta male already starts out with an inability to have discipline and self-control. And with their inhibitions lowered, it becomes even worse. And that's possibly what happened with Jared Ravizza, as he basically got out here and went on this alleged stabbing spree. Now, some are they look to give him a mental health evaluation as related to the incident with his father and found nothing wrong. And I believe they possibly won't find anything wrong here, because the reason why this individual was acting like this was due to the episodes as related to the drugs basically altering their brain chemistry. And as it alters his brain chemistry, it led to him participating in this just series of violent incidents. But now that he has crashed his car and has been arrested, he won't be getting any drugs inside of the Massachusetts jail. No, he won't be getting any drugs at the Martha's Vineyard jail. And he will be dealing with the structure and authority of the COs inside of the penitentiary. And he'll also be dealing with the social pecking order of Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles in jail, and will possibly be dealing with them in prison. And as he's in prison and he's looking to be in this jail, he's going to have to deal with those guys basically looking to trade him for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand lemon drink, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand orange drink, off-brand apple juice, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand lemon cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, Hunt snack pack puddings, Kit Kat candy bars, packets of sriracha sauce, packets of soy sauce, packets of duck sauce, prison chips, Fritos chips, Doritos, and all sorts of commissary, as they possibly wind up trading this dude for this commissary, and fill up the front side and the back side during their spit roast. And as they fill up the front side and the back side during their spit roast, Mr. Sprinkles will come in once they pull out and spray both the front side and the back side with their special sauce, then split the cheeks open on this former preppy and surfer dude, and let everybody on Cell Block D know that his backside looks like the inside of a glazed donut. And that will be the final fate for this guy who went through this horrifying transformation according to his parents. And in that jail cell, he'll go from being a horror character to dealing with the horrors of the penitentiary. And sadly, this is what's going to happen to this male who became a man in crisis during the COVID lockdowns. And in this COVID lockdowns, as a result of it, basically this man will be going to jail for the rest of his life, because I don't really believe that there was a mental health issue with this guy or any sort of break. I think it was basically he took some drugs and it altered his brain chemistry, and he acted on impulses based on the drugs that he used. And I believe that there was some sort of drug use as related to this guy to lead to him being a man in crisis. This is just me speculating here as related to this individual. I believe what happened here is, again, another case of a man in crisis, because many people are in denial about their children, again, as related to America, because we don't want to talk about the man crisis in this country. We'll think that our kids are fine because they have lots of money and lots of stuff like Jared Ravizza, because if you've got money for a Porsche and you've got money to work out, people will think that this guy is fine. But a lot of times in the case of individuals like this, they're out here participating in use of illegal drugs, and those illegal drugs take a guy from being a successful son of a man who's living in Martha's Vineyard to winding up being an inmate in the penitentiary as a man in crisis. But that man was in crisis because if he's looking to take drugs to escape, then possibly what happened with this individual is he took those drugs during the COVID lockdowns where he had long idle hours, and as he had those long idle hours, he basically wound up getting out here and getting on these drugs. And again, that possibly could have been the thing that led to the motive for this stabbing spree. And what's really troubling about this whole situation is that we have this increasingly frequency of these kinds of incidents where you have individuals going out here acting impulsively, but America refuses to acknowledge the man crisis in this country. And because we refuse to acknowledge the man crisis in this country, what happens is individuals like this slip through cracks. And what's really sad is that he had a father who was a therapist, but that father really couldn't see the behaviors that were here as related to them. I mean, his father basically said he possibly had a psychotic break, but when it comes to the beta male, it's not a psychotic break. The problem is that they are just dysfunctional individuals. And as dysfunctional individuals, what happens is when they go out here and they do things like participate in these behaviors that are antisocial, like taking drugs, they do this in the secret world that I talk about in the man crisis, because they feel insecure about their masculinity, feel inadequate about their manhood, and as a result they participate in behaviors in the secret world. And then as they are in the secret world taking these drugs, possibly, again, I'm speculating here, what happens is they wind up trying to escape the world, but then wind up in a dark reality where they wind up doing more harm to people. That's what I believe possibly happened here with this Jared Ravizza. I mean, he went from being a guy who was living very well to winding up a man in crisis. Now, other people were saying that they had issues with him. A designer and a model said that she had an unsettling run-in with him. Again, all signs to me that this guy basically was a ticking time bomb like beta males are. And all signs to me that this guy was, again, dealing with his problems by taking drugs and, again, living a double life like many beta males do, because outside he was this guy who was a preppy, then he was a surfer, and then he basically was in the secret world, I believe, escaping with drugs. And then this is where, as he was in the secret world, people were having these disturbing incidents, and he had that incident with his father, and most people couldn't see the ticking time bomb that turned into a landmine until he got in that stabbing spree. And that's the scariest part about dealing with these beta males. Even a licensed mental health counselor like his father couldn't see the dangers with this, with his son being a man in crisis, because he didn't know about the warning signs, because people really don't really see those warning signs as related to this man crisis. Now, the father again said that he was doing faith-based care, but he couldn't see the warning signs that I could see from reading the story. I mean, as I read this story, I could really see the warning signs possibly with this guy as related to this guy's alleged behavior. I mean, when I look at these incidents, it was definitely clear to me that there was something wrong with this dude. I mean, clearly something wrong with him as related to his behavior, and for him to have this erratic change definitely shows me that there possibly was some drug use that basically altered his brain chemistry and led to him becoming this extremely disturbed and erratic individual. That's what I believe happened here. And when it comes to a lot of guys out here, they are like this guy, and all it takes is one hit of some weed or some hit of some K2 to turn a functional man into a man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to many of these males winding up on the road to the dysfunctional pattern of behavior that puts them on the road to becoming men in crisis, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and you can also find it at big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos about the man crisis going on in this country that the nation refuses to acknowledge, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback at e-readers, ISIS, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.